me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're stuck? Like, you know what you need to do, but no matter how hard you try, you just can't get yourself to take action? Maybe you start something, but then you lose momentum. Maybe you tell yourself, tomorrow I'll be different, but tomorrow comes and nothing changes. Sound familiar? Listen, this isn't just about motivation. It's not about discipline. It's about understanding how your mind and body actually work. Because the truth is, laziness is not a personality trait, it's a pattern. And patterns can be rewired. For over 100 years, yes, 100 years, I've been studying what makes people successful, what drives them to push past their limits, what separates the ones who take action from the ones who stay stuck. And guess what? Some of the most powerful tools for breaking free from laziness don't come from the latest productivity hacks or self-help books. They come from ancient Japanese wisdom. These aren't just techniques. These are principles that have been shaping high performers for centuries. And today, you're going to learn 7 of them. But here's the deal. You can't just listen. You can't just nod along and think, oh, that sounds good. No, you've got to apply this. You've got to take action, because knowledge without action is nothing. So if you're ready to rewire your brain, if you're ready to break the cycle of procrastination and step into real momentum, then let's dive in. And it starts with this, Kaizen, the beginner's mindset. Kaizen, beat procrastination with small, consistent daily actions. Most people fail to take action because they think change has to be massive, instant, and overwhelming. They set these huge, unrealistic goals, and when they don't see immediate progress, they give up. That's why Kaizen is so powerful. It's not about making drastic changes overnight. It's about making small, consistent improvements every single day. Imagine you want to get in shape. You don't need to start by running 5 miles or lifting heavy weights for 2 hours a day. You just need to start with something small. 1 push-up, 1 squat, 1-minute walk. Your brain doesn't resist tiny actions, but over time, those tiny actions build momentum. The next day you do 2 push-ups. The next week you walk for 5 minutes instead of 1. And before you know it, these small habits have compounded into real lasting transformation. This technique isn't just about fitness. It applies to business, learning, and personal growth. If you want to be more productive, don't aim to work for 5 straight hours starting tomorrow. Start with just 5 minutes of deep focus. If you want to write a book, don't set a goal of 10 pages a day. Just write 1 sentence. The trick is to make it so easy that you can't fail. Kaizen works because it bypasses the brain's fear response. When you try to force big changes, your brain sees it as a threat and triggers resistance. But when you take micro accessions, your brain doesn't even register it as a challenge. You sneak past the resistance, and before you know it, progress is happening naturally. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up debating whether you should do it or not. It's automatic. That's how habits work. They start with tiny actions that are easy to repeat until they become second nature. The first few steps are hard, but once the habit is in place, it runs on autopilot. There's also a deep psychological advantage to Kaizen. When people set big goals and don't reach them, they feel like failures. That failure kills momentum and they stop trying altogether. But with Kaizen, success is guaranteed because the goal is so small that it's impossible to fail. Every time you complete a micro task, you win. And winning, even in tiny ways, creates confidence, momentum, and progress. A practical way to implement Kaizen is the 1% rule. Focus on getting just 1% better every day. If you improve by just 1% daily, you'll be 37 times better in a year. The numbers don't lie. This is how champions, elite athletes, and top performers operate. They don't try to change everything at once. They just get a little bit better consistently every day. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop setting massive goals that overwhelm you. Start ridiculously small. Make progress impossible to miss, because once you start moving, the hardest part is already over. Ikigai, find your purpose to eliminate laziness at its root. Laziness is not a lack of discipline, it's a lack of purpose. When people don't have a strong reason to act, they drift, they procrastinate, they get stuck in cycles of distraction. But when you have a clear purpose, something that excites you, something that matters, laziness disappears. Ikigai is the Japanese concept of finding your reason for being. It's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, the work that fuels your soul, the mission that makes every effort feel worthwhile. When you have Ikigai, motivation is no longer something you force, it's something that flows naturally. Ikigai isn't just about passion. It's about finding the intersection of 4 key things: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can get paid for. When all 4 align, you have a purpose that sustains you, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually. Most people struggle with laziness because they're disconnected from their purpose. They're doing work that doesn't excite them, following routines that don't inspire them. They wake up every day without a strong why, and that lack of direction leads to procrastination, burnout, and frustration. Think about a time when you were truly excited about something. Maybe it was a project, a hobby, or an opportunity that fired you up. You didn't have to force yourself to do it. You wanted to do it. You lost track of time. That's what happens when you operate within your Ikigai. Work stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a mission. But finding Ikigai isn't about waiting for a magical aha moment. It requires experimentation. You have to explore, try new things, follow your curiosity, take action, even when you're unsure. Too many people wait for their passion to appear instead of creating it through experience. The first step is self-awareness. Ask yourself, what excites me? What could I spend hours doing without getting bored? What problems do I love solving? What skills come naturally to me? What do people come to me for advice on? The answers to these questions hold clues to your Ikigai. Next, start taking small actions in that direction. If you love music, start playing again. If you're passionate about fitness, help someone get in shape. If business excites you, start a small side project. Ikigai doesn't reveal itself in thought. It reveals itself in action. The more you explore, the clearer it becomes. The biggest mistake people make is settling. They accept jobs they hate, routines that drain them, and lifestyles that don't inspire them. Then they wonder why they feel unmotivated. But laziness isn't the problem. The lack of meaning is. Change that, and everything else shifts. Ikigai is the antidote to procrastination. When you wake up every day with a deep sense of purpose, you don't need to search for motivation. It's already built into your life. Shoshin, approach tasks with a beginner's mindset and curiosity. Most people fail to make progress not because they lack intelligence or talent, but because they carry too much mental baggage. They overthink. They assume they already know the answers. They hesitate, fearing failure or judgment. This is why Shoshin, the beginner's mindset, is so powerful. It allows you to approach every challenge as if you're seeing it for the first time, with openness, curiosity, and a willingness to learn. Experts often get stuck in their ways. They rely on past experiences and become resistant to new ideas. Beginners, on the other hand, are free. They don't have preconceived notions, so they explore, they experiment, and they make breakthroughs. When you adopt the beginner's mindset, you strip away ego and replace it with curiosity. Instead of assuming you already know how something works, you ask questions. Instead of fearing mistakes, you embrace them as part of the process. Imagine a child learning to walk. They don't analyze the mechanics of movement or worry about falling. They just try, fall, get up, and try again. That's the essence of Shoshin. Children don't hesitate to explore because they haven't developed the fear of failure yet. As adults, we accumulate fears, doubts, and self-imposed limitations. We tell ourselves that we're too old to learn a new skill, that we're not good enough, or that it's too late to start. But those are just mental barriers. The truth is, the people who keep growing and succeeding are the ones who never stop learning. One of the greatest advantages of Shoshin is that it eliminates perfectionism. Many people don't take action because they believe they need to have everything figured out beforehand. They think they need the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect timing. But perfection is an illusion. Progress comes from action, from stepping into the unknown and being willing to learn as you go. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll never start. Shoshin also applies to overcoming challenges. When you hit a roadblock, instead of getting frustrated, shift your perspective. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Approach it with curiosity rather than resistance. Challenges are just lessons in disguise. The more you embrace them, the faster you grow. A practical way to develop Shoshin is to deliberately put yourself in situations where you're a beginner again. Try learning a new language, picking up an instrument, or starting a new hobby. Experience what it feels like to be outside your comfort zone. This reminds you that struggle is not failure. It's learning in action. It rewires your brain to embrace discomfort rather than avoid it. Hara Hachibu. Manage energy by eating until 80% full. Energy is everything. If you don't have energy, you can't focus. If you can't focus, you can't be productive. Most people think laziness is about discipline, but more often than not, it's about low energy levels. When your body is sluggish, your mind is sluggish. The Japanese practice of harahachi-bu is a simple but powerful way to manage energy levels by eating only until you're 80% full. Prevents overeating, keeps the body light, and maintains optimal energy throughout the day. When you overeat, your body diverts massive amounts of energy to digestion. This is why people feel tired, sluggish, and unmotivated after a heavy meal. The body isn't designed to function at peak performance when overloaded with food. But when you eat just enough to satisfy hunger without stuffing yourself, you maintain steady energy and mental clarity. This practice has deep roots in Okinawa, where people have some of the longest lifespans in the world. They don't eat until they're completely full. They stop when they're satisfied but not stuffed. This slight calorie restriction not only keeps their energy levels high, but also reduces the risk of disease and prolongs life. Hydration also plays a role. Many people confuse thirst with hunger. Drinking a glass of water before meals can help prevent overeating and keep energy levels balanced. Proper hydration supports digestion, brain function, and overall performance. The timing of meals is just as important as portion size. Large meals late at night disrupt sleep, which in turn affects energy levels the next day. Eating lighter dinners and avoiding heavy processed foods before bed improves sleep quality and allows the body to recover properly. Quality sleep is one of the most overlooked factors in maintaining high energy and beating laziness. By eating with intention, choosing whole nutrient-dense foods, and stopping before feeling overly full, you allow your body to function at its best. Instead of relying on willpower to fight laziness, you create an environment where energy naturally flows. A well-fueled body leads to a sharp, focused mind. The better you eat, the better you perform. Wabi-sabi, take action without waiting for perfection. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is the obsession with perfection. They hesitate to start because they feel like they're not ready. They procrastinate because they fear their work won't be good enough. They set high expectations for themselves, and when reality doesn't match those expectations, they feel frustrated and give up. This is why wabi-sabi is such a powerful mindset shift. It teaches that imperfection is not a flaw, but a source of beauty. In Japanese culture, wabi-sabi is about embracing the natural flow of life. It's about accepting that nothing is ever truly perfect, finished, or permanent. A cracked teacup is not broken, it has character. A worn-out wooden floor is not damaged, it has history. Instead of striving for an impossible ideal, wabi-sabi encourages appreciation of things as they are, flaws and all. This mindset, when applied to personal growth and productivity, removes the biggest barrier to success: waiting for things to be perfect before taking action. Perfectionism kills progress. Many people dream of writing a book but never start because they think their first draft has to be amazing. Others want to start a business but hesitate because they don't have the perfect plan. Some avoid learning a new skill because they don't want to look like a beginner. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. Nothing starts out perfect. The first attempt at anything is always rough, messy, and full of mistakes. But that's how progress happens, by embracing the imperfection and refining through action. The best artists, entrepreneurs, and creators don't wait for perfection. They take action, iterate, and improve along the way. A sculptor doesn't expect the first strike of the chisel to produce a masterpiece. They chip away, refine, and shape the stone over time. The same principle applies to anything in life. Every skill, every project, every transformation begins in a raw, unfinished state. The only way to improve is to start. Even if it's messy, even if it's not perfect. One of the biggest advantages of adopting wabi-sabi is that it removes the fear of failure. When you stop seeing imperfections as mistakes and start viewing them as part of the journey, you become free. You stop hesitating, stop second-guessing, and start taking bold action. This is why some of the most successful people in the world emphasize speed and execution over perfection. They know that momentum matters more than getting everything right from the start. A practical way to implement wabi-sabi is to set a goal of completing things imperfectly. If you want to write, aim to produce bad first drafts. If you want to start a fitness journey, don't worry about the perfect routine, just move. If you want to learn a language, don't obsess over grammar, start speaking. The goal is progress, not perfection. Another powerful exercise is to reframe mistakes as learning experiences. Instead of getting discouraged when something doesn't go as planned, ask, what can I learn from this? When you stop fearing failure and start seeing it as feedback, every setback becomes a stepping stone towards success. Applying wabi-sabi also means simplifying. Many people overcomplicate their goals, thinking they need complex systems and perfect conditions before they can start. Simplicity is powerful. Instead of waiting for the perfect gym, do body weight exercises at home. Instead of planning for months before launching a business, start with a small test. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, take action now. The reality is nothing is ever truly finished. There will always be improvements to make, skills to refine, and lessons to learn. But you can't get better if you don't start. The beauty of wabi-sabi is that it allows you to move forward without the weight of unrealistic expectations. It teaches you to embrace imperfection, take action despite uncertainty, and trust that growth happens in the process. Pomodoro technique. Use focused 25-minute work sessions with short breaks. Laziness is not always about a lack of motivation. Sometimes it's about feeling overwhelmed. When a task feels too big, too difficult, or too time-consuming, the brain resists starting. This is why the Pomodoro technique is so effective. It breaks work into small, manageable chunks, making it easier to start and stay focused. The human brain is not designed for long, uninterrupted hours of concentration. After a certain point, focus diminishes, distractions creep in, and productivity drops. The Pomodoro technique solves this by working with the brain's natural rhythm instead of against it. The method is simple. Work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. Repeat this cycle 4 times, then take a longer break. This structure has multiple psychological advantages. First, it eliminates the intimidation factor of big tasks. If you have a major project to complete, instead of thinking about the entire workload, you only focus on the next 25 minutes. That feels achievable. The hardest part of any task is getting started, and the Pomodoro technique makes starting easy by lowering the mental barrier. Second, the technique creates a sense of urgency. When time is limited, the brain naturally focuses better. A 25-minute countdown signals that there's no time for distractions, forcing you to dive in. This is similar to the way students often work best under deadlines. When the clock is ticking, focus sharpens. The Pomodoro technique also prevents burnout. Many people try to power through hours of work without breaks, thinking they'll get more done. But the brain has limits. After a certain point, productivity declines and mistakes increase. Short, scheduled breaks allow the brain to reset, keeping energy and concentration levels high throughout the day. One of the best ways to implement this technique is to eliminate distractions during each 25-minute session. Turn off notifications, put your phone on silent, and create a distraction-free work environment. Treat the 25-minute block as a sacred focus period where nothing else matters. Then use the 5-minute break to step away, stretch, or reset before the next round. Another advantage of the Pomodoro technique is that it builds momentum. Many people struggle with laziness because they feel unproductive, which creates a cycle of avoidance. But when you complete even a single 25-minute session, you feel a sense of accomplishment. That small win fuels motivation, making it easier to continue. Success. This method is also flexible. If 25 minutes feels too long, start with 10 or 15 minutes. The key is to set a short, specific time frame that feels doable. The goal is not perfection, it's consistency. The more you use the technique, the easier it becomes to stay focused for longer periods. Another way to make the Pomodoro technique even more effective is to set clear, specific goals for each session. Instead of saying, I'll work on this project, define exactly what you'll accomplish in that 25-minute block. The more precise your goal, the more productive you'll be. The technique also works well for overcoming procrastination. If there's a task you've been avoiding, tell yourself you only work on it for one Pomodoro session. Often just getting started is enough to break through resistance. Once you begin, you'll likely find it easier to keep going. By structuring work into focused intervals with regular breaks, the Pomodoro technique turns overwhelming tasks into manageable ones. It makes starting easy, keeps focus sharp, and prevents burnout, allowing you to stay productive without feeling exhausted. Shinrin-yoku, reduce stress and boost energy through nature immersion. Modern life is filled with constant noise, screens, and distractions, draining mental energy and creating stress. When the mind is overwhelmed, motivation decreases and laziness takes over. Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is a simple yet powerful way to restore focus and energy by immersing yourself in nature. Unlike exercise or hiking, it's not about physical activity. It's about being present, engaging the senses, and absorbing the natural environment. Studies show that spending time in green spaces lowers cortisol, reduces anxiety, and enhances cognitive function. Nature resets the nervous system, shifting the body from a stressed state into relaxation. Even brief exposure to trees, fresh air, and natural sounds boosts mood and creativity. The scent of trees, the rustling of leaves, and the feel of the earth underfoot activate the parasympathetic nervous system, improving overall well-being. Walking mindfully through a park, sitting near water, or simply breathing fresh air can refresh the mind and increase productivity. So here's the truth. Breaking free from laziness isn't about forcing yourself to be disciplined. It's about understanding your patterns and rewiring them. You adopt Shoshin, the beginner's mindset, so you stop overthinking and just start. You use Hara Hachibu to fuel your body the right way so energy isn't holding you back. You embrace wabi-sabi so perfectionism never stops you again. You use the Pomodoro technique to focus in short, powerful bursts, and you apply Shinrin-yoku to reset your mind and destroy stress before it destroys your momentum. This isn't about trying harder. It's about thinking differently. It's about shifting your approach so that laziness isn't even an option anymore. Because when you implement these techniques, when you make them a part of who you are, you don't have to fight for motivation. It just becomes automatic. And that's when everything changes. Now, if you got any value from this, don't just sit there. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below telling me which of these techniques you're going to start using today. Because knowledge is only power if you use it. This is Tony Robbins Track, and I'll see you in the next one. Now go make it happen.